Recording in progress.
Crash recording.
Again. Call to order, please. Pledge of allegiance, we'll stand, please stand for pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation, indivisible, with justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Renzo. Present. Mr. Boda.
Here.
Mr. Kufrio.
Here.
President Sutcliffe.
Here.
Ms. Redza. Present. Dr. Carpenter. Present. Mr. Jamelis.
Here.
Mr. Long.
Here.
Okay, we're gonna go to number 4. We have a couple proclamations the mayor wants to do tonight. Mr. Mayor.
Yes, we all know that we had a fire up there on Center Avenue. And it was a horrific fire, and there was 4 or 5 families misplaced. And a couple people I want to recognize with a proclamation. And the first one would be Eric Coos. And it's funny because when I told Eric that I was going to do this, and I wanted to see him at the last meeting that we had, the work or the business meeting on the 14th, and he told me, he says, I'll be there. And he called me the day before, and he says, Mr. Recupero, he says, I know I told you I'll be there. And he says, I'll be there. He says, but I just got a phone call from the Pittsburgh Penguins, and they want me down there. And I told him, I says, Eric, you told me you were going to be at our meeting. He goes, no, I'll be there. I'll be there. I says, Eric, I'm going to tell you what. I says, I'm going to give you a piece of paper. The Penguins are going to give you probably a dinner. Box seats, chance to go on the ice, and a whole bunch of other things. I said, you're gonna go to that game, and he did. He took his family, and I seen the pictures on the what's the big TV with it. Yeah. And that's a once in a lifetime thing. And I'm glad you were there and they honored you in front of all those people. But if you'd like to come up here for a minute, I'm gonna give you this. We'll do it right here by the flag. Eric Coos is a long time resident of Roanoke Borough. And whereas on December 12, 2024, a fire broke out in an apartment building on Center Avenue. And whereas Mr. Coos, driving home at the time, noticed smoke coming from the apartment building. And whereas Mr. Coos stopped his vehicle and heard a woman screaming for help. And whereas with selflessness, disregard for his own safety, Mr. Coos immediately took action, entering the burning building to rescue multiple individuals and pets, taking them to his vehicle to keep them warm until first responders arrived. And I, Mayor Dave Recupero, hereby make this proclamation on behalf of the Borough Council and the citizens of the Borough of Verona, recognizing and honoring Eric Coos for his selfless and heroic act on December 12th. The bravery and courage of Mr. Coos displays likely saved lives that evening and deserves to be honored. Congratulations. Dassel, would you please come here also? I know you wasn't expecting this.
Something good for them.
I'm not going to read every one of these. I got 5 of them to give out. Officer Dassel, when he got the call as a first responder, he was there immediately, and he did see Eric come out of the building. And he also went into the building to make sure the building was secure and nobody else was in there. So I'm going to give you the proclamation also. Congratulations. Okay, Lisa.
Secretariat.
There we go. Lacataria. She also was involved. She's a resident on North Avenue, and she seen the smoke and fire and drove to the scene and saw some of the victims standing in the cold. Whereas she got into her car and brought these victims to her own home from Center Avenue to North Avenue to keep them warm until the Red Cross came and, made proper arrangements to go to a hotel and what have you. So I'd like to honor her also. Hey, come on up here, Sue. I don't know if you was driving by, or I know you do a lot of walking, and
I was walking.
you were walking and you seen all the chaos down there, and people continue to go down Center Avenue. And she took it upon herself to direct traffic at Athletic and Center. And she stood there for what, 3.5 hours in the cold. It was 24 degrees out. And I'd like to get, on behalf of, myself and council and citizens of Verona, also give you a prompt. Come up here real quick. I would like to give the Verona Fire Department a proclamation also, and Tom was a part of fire chief along with Ray, come on up here. And Bill, I'm sorry. A lot of things going on. And for all the hard work that you've always done in volunteering the way you all do, you come out at many hours of the night. I believe it was last month was a pretty busy night, or pretty busy month, on and off. And I would like to give, a proclamation also, for your dedication and your service and your willingness to give back to the community. So congratulations to all of you and all the other fire departments that joined in that night. Without you guys, we'd be in a lot of trouble. So I'd like to thank you all. So thank you. Nick and Janet, I'm sorry. Eric.
Come down there, they said.
No, Eric,
Okay.
you down here, right?
Okay. This is Nick Vitolis, our councilman, and Janet Loelbo, she's representing Joe McAndrew, our legislator.
Wait,
They
Janet, you
also
go
have a
first.
proclamation.
You talk to Eric first.
On behalf of State Rep. Joe McAndrew, he's in Harrisburg, this section. So whereas the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is always proud to recognize those individuals who, through their hard work and determination, excel and make great achievements. And whereas one of our heroes, Mr. Eric Cruz, is a lifelong Verona resident, and whereas on Thursday night, December 12th, 2024, Mr. Cruz was heading home from the grocery store. He's about 4 blocks away from his Verona home. He stopped at the intersection and noticed heavy smoke billowing from the windows of the apartment building on Center Avenue. And whereas Mr. Cruz immediately pulled over, told a bystander to call 911 and sprang into action. With no firefighters on the scene yet, Mr. Cruz rushed inside where he first helped a mother and her child down the steps. He then proceeded to bang on the doors, and when he heard cries for help from a woman and followed her directions to the back of the building, he ran up to the second floor. And whereas when Mr. Cruz reached the apartment, the woman's door was open and she was standing in the hallway entryway with her dog. He handed Mr. Cruz the dog and ran back into the apartment to grab her other one. And whereas Allegheny County is a better place, and thankful for heroes like Mr. Cruz. As he stated, I just saw someone that needed help and had to jump in. I'm from this community. I love this community. I did what I expect any good neighbor to do. Now, therefore, it be resolved that I, State Representative Joe McAndrew, do hereby recognize Mr. Eric Cruz for his heroic actions in leading residents to safety after fire broke out in the basement of the Verona apartment building. And witness that whereof I have come to cause the seal of the Pennsylvania House of Representatives to be affixed this day, the 7th of January, 2020.
I won't read the proclamation because everybody's words basically say the same. But I spent 8 years per year in the seat, as you all know, as your councilman. And it's an honor to be here on behalf of Allegheny County this evening. And seeing the news media and what you had done, it brought to light, what if you hadn't done it? How many people drove up Center Avenue and didn't see the smoke before you did? And if they did they say anything? Of course not, because we know the end of the story. The result is police officer Tom Dessel showed up and Steve Jamelis, your brother, was there. You showed up and saved these people. It goes a lot beyond that though, because after this all happened, the community came together. There was bingos at the Eagles Club, the spaghetti dinner at the Verona Fire Hall, which I attended. And I was pretty much amazed to see the number of support you had and the community that night. And it was something that it touches your heart to see stuff like that with people in distress. The fire itself, it hits home for me, you know, because I had that same fire a couple of years back, and I know how he feels because I lived it, and everybody got out of my building safely, and I was so grateful that nobody did get hurt, and that was important. The fact that everybody's lives were saved, and buildings can be replaced. And I know the Jamelis brothers, they're still living it, folks, because I lived it. I'm still living it 2 years later, but it's emotional. And I know all his family's going through this because the insurance, the claims, will you build? Can you build? Will you be able to build? I mean, there's so many questions, but the good news is the community came together and they raised money for the people that lost their homes, and you saved their lives, and just the entire event was just something bad, always something good happens from it. And you came out and said it yourself. You only did it because you wish somebody would do that for you if you were in that situation. And that's exactly what he did. He just, it's like he went to drop something and he automatically grabbed it. You didn't think. It was instinct. And that's what it takes to be a hero. And that's what you are.
Thank you. Thank all of you.
We have a meeting.
Okay. I'd like to thank everybody involved in the Center Avenue fire. From the person that called 911 to the last people that were there on the scene. Can't thank them all because I don't know them all. As Borough Council President, I want to thank everybody who was involved. With that being said, we're going to move on with our meeting. Are there any additional emergency agenda items? No? Registered comments from the public? There it is. Please come to the podium, raise your virtual hand, or no registered comments? Okay. That's what I said. There's no registered. Found one of comments from the public. At this time, council will hear comments on the public related items. Please approach the podium or raise your virtual hand. Clearly state your name and address. Limit your comments to 3 minutes, please.
Hi, I'm Kelly Rodriguez, I live at 529 North Avenue. So here again, the same problem I have all the time. Sunday, the lady next door, girl that gets cared for, stole a car and ran into the fence. Not my fence, thankfully, but here's why I'm here. January 14th, the police were down at 408 Selden, where they run this business out. I've been here before over this. I did talk to Trish a few years ago, and I brought this to you guys before. And I just want to know why this is going on. Why is there a business there? Jerry was there. This is known, and I need you guys to step up. This was bought on 7/20/21 from an LLC. It's the same company in a different name. I'm stupid. I just need it to end. You know, it's ongoing threats. I'm just getting tired.
What's the address again?
It's 408 Selden. They have the same cars that park in front of my house, in front of their house, back and forth. It's, I mean, you know, you've seen the news. That's all I have. I just would like that looked into because.
We'll get with
I mean,
the
I can't run
code
a business
enforcement
out of my
officer.
house, so I don't, you know.
Getting a code enforcement and solicitor.
Yeah,
I brought it up with them too, nobody has answers. So I just like, you know, just.
Understand.
What would
Understand.
you like to see done? I want it to stop. I'm not allowed to run a business out of my house. I mean, I've been
Run by the county.
clothing store out of my house, no.
Someone did ram her fence.
Wasn't mine though.
Wasn't her fence, she said.
No, it was my neighbor's fence. It was a spray garden.
But it
And
doesn't
there-
matter, there was damage, right?
Right.
Right.
I mean, she doesn't have a driver's license either. I mean, I watched the whole thing, but I mean, this is just on, so.
I don't know what we can do as a council, other than put it to our solicitor and our code enforcement people and see where we can go with it. I know you brought it up in the past about next door and everything. And I don't honestly remember what the result was, if there was any there.
Well, there was no reports until Officer Jessel.
Maybe that'll help.
It is, I mean, it's been on the news, we're in court now
Okay.
for drugs and they lost the girl for hours, so I'm a witness for that too, because I'm a witness all the time.
Was that the day that last summer we had come up and was called out to look for her? Or-
It was recent. What was that, you know?
Ball.
Well,
Less than 6 months ago. I mean, I've been.
that's the one who was sitting down at the post office or something for a while?
Yeah.
Okay.
When you say you wouldn't stop, you mean this ridiculous activity or the business?
Oh, that would be good, but I mean, if you're not allowed to run a business out of a home, why is it going on still? You know what I mean? Before I wanted it looked into, it wasn't, I mean, now you can because they have had the police there for all these issues. You know what I mean? So maybe now you can pull the record, I mean, have the date, so maybe you can, there's no report, Jerry was there, so maybe he's not doing his job, and that's also a problem for me.
We want to focus on positive solutions tonight. So when you say, the business stop, you know, from our discussions that even though it's zone residential, that this is an exception. So are you referring to this new office on Stone?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's been going since they took it over, so they put it under a different LLC. The other one is a separate name, and it's, I mean, I'm not gonna speculate, but
Can you make sure Stephanie has this information?
I already have it.
Okay, and Joe is.
Yeah, this is,
Ongoing.
there's a lot.
I didn't realize the Selden situation.
yeah, that was the one I was talking about probably a couple years ago. Anyway, that's all I have.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Kelly.
guys, thanks.
Anybody else?
My name is Leanne, I live at 530 North Avenue, across the street from Kelly. That's not the reason why I'm here, but to touch base on that, it is getting way out of hand. I have an 11-year-old that I can't even let outside because of the tenants that live in the house next to Kelly and the visitors that come to visit with the workers. They're there. We have been threatened many times. They block our driveway, they park in front of the house, loud music, drug deals in front of the house. It's insane. So if somebody can look into that aspect of it, I appreciate it. I don't know anything about the businesses and all that. It's just the safety of my child that I'm worried about.
Yeah, you're calling 911.
Huh?
You're calling 911, yes.
The reason I'm here today, I'm sure all of you already know, I contacted the mayor on Friday, November 15th about a issue that I had with one of the officers. Am I allowed to say who it was?
Yeah, whatever.
Okay. Well, it was with Sergeant Franco's. I had to call him to come up to the school, the Verner Elementary School with me and my child. I was not treated with respect at all. I was made to feel like I was bothering him, like it was an issue for him to be there. That's happened on several occasions, but this is the one that I'm talking about. I talked to the mayor, I spoke to him, I sent an email, we spoke in person that day. I have all the proof that I have been reaching out since Friday, November 15th. I tried to keep it in-house so I didn't have to go this far. I've been ignored. And it's infuriating. I thought that you were better than that. I thought that you cared. Hold on, you have a minute to speak. I thought you cared about the residents here and what was happening and how your operators behave. It's clear that you do not. I have been reaching out. It's now almost February. I have all my responses to you. I have my responses back from you. And there has been nothing until today when I told you that I would be at the meeting and that I would no longer defend your name and I will speak my truthful experience with you. I said that there's no wonder why your officers are permitted to act the way that they do, because you're allowing it. I gave you the benefit of the doubt, but now I'm gonna extend my reach further up the chain. The only thing you heard back to me was call me, and you write your phone number again. I'm not calling you. You can't write back in text messages, you can't write back in emails. This has been going on since November. It's rude, it's unprofessional. All I asked was for you to look into it. I told you that how you treated me, how you spoke to me, you were gonna look into it. Now all of a sudden I get an email from the solicitor today. Today, after I sent this email at 9:20 a.m., the solicitor emailed me at 2:30, sending me a letter telling me that the body cam footage that I requested lawfully through all of the state paperwork, many times that I emailed, drop off. I had other people drop it off, so it's been here. I have problems with that as well, if anybody needs to see it. Telling me that the body cam is dead. It happens. What my issue is, how many times is it gonna happen? How many times has it happened? How many residents don't know that they can request this if they are treated poorly? And all I asked for you was just a simple response. If you would have wrote back like, hey, it was dead, we're sorry, we're gonna fix it, we'll do this, this, and this, we're gonna take different steps. But I got nothing. And that's not okay. You're the mayor, who else are we supposed to go to?
You go to the mayor.
And
And we talk.
we did not talk. This solicitor wrote in here, and I spoke on the phone with the solicitor, and he'll be here for the meeting after. I told him I can wait, and we can all talk again for the next meeting, for your guys' executive meeting. I have screenshots of the only conversation we had. The only conversation we had was Friday, November 15th, 2024, for 4 minutes and 29 seconds at 6:28 p.m. The solicitor told me, well, he's not very tech savvy, maybe he has the wrong phone number. Okay. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt for that, but in all my emails and all my paperwork that I sent, my correct phone number is there. My address is on this paperwork. My name's on all this paperwork. I wasn't hiding anonymously. Why? Why is it completely ignored until today when I told you that I was gonna come up to the meeting?
That was a coincidence, and I know you're not gonna believe that. So let me explain. Right here. Right here.
And can
It
you tell me the
says-
phone number that you
it
sent it
says
to? Because
December-
the solicitor brought that up and said, oh, maybe you had the wrong phone number.
You know what? I honestly couldn't find your phone number. I hate computers. I am not.
It's in the email, it's in all the letters
Well,
I
you know
dropped
what?
off.
I couldn't find it.
And he gave you your chance to talk. Please let him talk.
It
It's
says,
a lie.
okay, it's a lie. Monday, December 2nd, 6:37 p.m. Good evening, Leanne. I apologize for taking so long to get back to you. I've had meetings back to back for the past several weeks, which we did, this board can verify, and it was on the police department. For the past several weeks with the department. Sergeant Francos and I met and we discussed the situation at the school in great detail, which we did. I cannot go into details. This is a personnel issue, but I assure you it was addressed, and it was addressed, and it was addressed for 45 minutes. Him and I talking about not only you, but other situations dealing with attitudes and what have you from all officers.
But you can't
I
even tell me who you
appreciate
said
you
that
bringing-
to.
I appreciate you bringing this to my attention. I've always taken matters like this very serious, and I always have in the past 35 years. Not only as a councilman, when I was a councilman, but as mayor also. Once again, thank you, Dave. I've had 2 meetings since then with police officers and Officer Vessel's back there. And it's right here. Professionalism when talking to residents or arresting people.
And that's a good thing, but
And
you can't
I
even tell
brought
me
it
who
up-
you sent that text message to.
With that,
You can't even tell me who you sent that text message to. But
your
but
name.
I have the emails here. You had no problem emailing me and having the solicitor email me today. Why did it take you
Because
until
your
today?
name's right here on top of it.
How do I know that's my phone number? My phone number is on all of
Your
these
phone number's
pages.
not on there. Your email's on there. That's what
And
I
it did not come
said.
to my email.
Well,
I can guarantee it, and I have the proof.
I didn't blow you off. I took it
You
very
did.
seriously. Well, that's your opinion.
It's not an opinion, it's facts, Mayor. I have all the facts here. I have every conversation that we have had. I have all the emails that I sent to the manager. I have all the paperwork that I printed and brought down here on several occasions that I sent here and through the mail.
Well, I apologize.
It's
if
all
you
on
didn't
here.
get
The phone
this.
number's
It's not
on here, my
fault
email's here. I live right up the street.
that you didn't get this. It was handled between the sergeant and myself. We talked about the situation. And like I said, it's in here. President of council was here last night and so was, Mr. Dravelis, and I brought that up. You know, to all the officers who were sitting here about attitudes.
Well, I'm
And
glad
this
that you're
is twice
changing
I brought it,
something.
because we reviewed everything.
But
Then
you
I
dropped the
know-
ball here.
Well, I apologize if I did. I didn't mean to. But I did get back to you.
And that's all I was asking
and
for,
I
some
cannot-
accountability.
I cannot go into matters with, as far as personnel issues.
I never asked you to.
Well, you wanted to
When I-
know the results.
When I filled out that form, is what I was allowed to ask for.
When
That
you-
is the form from the state.
You
When
actually
you-
didn't fill it out correctly, just, it's part of the reason it may have taken some time. When it's given, it has to be handed directly to a person within the borough, and it was not handed.
It was dropped off here and it was actually handed to, Officer Openack as well.
Well, it was dropped off here, yes, it was left on.
And it was sent in the mail as well.
And it has to be handed, you personally have to hand it.
And I was here New Year's Eve. If you would have wrote to me on December 2nd, like you claimed you did, I wouldn't have been here on New Year's Eve to drop the stuff off.
Right here.
Okay, well, show me the email that shows that it's
Okay,
me.
okay, we're getting a little,
Because
we
it's-
understand you're upset, but right now, what would you like done?
I want some accountability. You guys claim to care about the citizens of Verona and everything that happens here. But when we write to you in November, it is now almost February and we don't hear anything. And it's report after
Well-
email, after phone call, after text message, and it's still nothing. So what do you want us to do? You want us
What do
to
you-
come down here and be cheery and happy and be like,
No.
oh, Mayor? No, you're blowing smoke. It's what it is.
Yeah, let me try to reiterate.
The mayor says he sent it to you, I mean,
So issue number one is the delay in response from the mayor and council to you, which we were under the impression there was a response, but apparently there was clearly a issue, it didn't get to you, right?
Correct.
Okay, so we deeply apologize for the message not getting through to you. Thing two is the manner in which you were treated by our staff. That is an ongoing issue that the mayor has mentioned he's working to correct. And we as a team are working to support you with that. Issue three is issue with the body camera.
Well, it's not my place to ask for all the body cam footage. I wanted the mayor to see it, and I tried to keep it in-house to see how the officer was behaving and how he was speaking to me. It didn't need to go this far. I didn't want to have to involve all this paperwork and contact the state and all that. It was the fact of he's in charge, and this is how he's talking to people for something that was important to me, may not have been important to him, but I had to have the police there for that situation. So if it's something so minute, how are you treating people that are in an accident or something? Is what I asked him to review. I didn't need to see the body cam footage. I was there, I know it. But if it can happen for something so small, how's he treating people that are in an actual emergency?
Yeah.
Is what I wanted him to focus on.
I think we all understand that the situation has caused you deep frustration and we could have handled things differently. At this point, is there anything else we can do to help resolve this?
No, I just wanted to make sure that it was understood how everything played out, because when I was getting phone calls asking certain things today and people reaching out all of a sudden because I said I was gonna come here, that just added fuel to my fire.
well, I can say this about the solicitor, I know he was directed, was it last week, Stephanie, to send a letter? So maybe he only got to it today, like the mayor said, maybe you don't believe that or not, but he was directed last week to send a letter to you regarding the body cam and all.
I got the email at 2:30 today,
Okay,
after
well-
I emailed the mayor today.
I
Well,
got the same email as you did, the same time.
Right, but
I,
I've been emailing you since November. We've talked about it since November.
Apparently I didn't get it then.
Come on now. Do you really want me to put this all out here? Because I can post it all so everybody can see it. I'm gonna leave it at that. That's enough.
thank you, Leanne. Anybody else?
Hi, Bill Davis, 537 Ridge Avenue, Verona. Dave, is there any possible chance we can get someone to clean the sidewalk on Second Street where the rectory used to be at up there? I have a blind girl that walks down there sometimes with her sister. And it's nothing but a sheet of ice about that thick. Coming up Center Avenue and coming across Second. Right? Is there any chance we can get someone to
Most definitely, I
throw
believe
some salt up there or do something? I mean,
it's privately owned and,
I'm not there for a reason, but
no, I understand. I believe last week, Joe was out, I seen him, getting out of his car and looking at different sidewalks and what have you,
okay.
because a lot of them weren't clean.
We can send,
But
we can send DPW up and just send a bill.
Yeah.
No, just send DPW up. Get that opened up.
Thank you.
Is it still icy right now?
Oh, yeah, it hasn't been touched all year. For every snowfall and that stuff, nothing's been touched up there, and it's about that thick on ice now because the kids are walking across it and everybody's walking across it now.
Does Joe know about it, Stephanie?
There's nothing been done up there.
Yeah, he
Like,
does, I can have DPW go out there and throw salt,
Right,
problem at this point, is
I hear you.
that's another part of that problem with that piece of property.
The other thing, right, you work for the state and everything like I did. The grates on Alligator Boulevard on the viaduct are filled completely to the top again. Is there any way we could possibly get, a vac truck back down there again to clean them, or?
Stephanie can call the state and tell them what's going on. You know how hard it is to get them out to even fill potholes.
I understand, Ray, I work for the state too.
Stephanie,
I'm just saying,
I can call the state, that's the best I can do.
yeah, because they're filled completely to the top again.
Again, I can call, but the problem is that is a state road. So we have no control over that road. We're having other issues on that road right now with problems with the way buildings are draining and stuff like that, that we are talking with them about. We will see what we can do.
maybe we can get a hold of Mr. McAndrew.
Yeah, they haven't been extraordinary, helpful yet, but I will see.
But, the way I understand, they're coming back in through next year, they're gonna pave it.
They're gonna
And
pay it
do all
in the
that stuff and
spring.
everything, so
Yeah.
everything should be taken care of before then. With
They're gonna
the
target
grace.
it, but I understand.
You understand what I mean, Rick? You know, it, same as I do.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Anybody else?
I won't be more than 3 minutes, but Kurt Sperling is SPU Barton G 420 Ridge Avenue. Same issue. I mean, I'm not here for any other different reason.
Speeding on.
Speeding, yeah, speeding. I think whenever whenever the pavement marking was put in and the lights were put on the stop sign, I think it improved a little bit. I'm not gonna sit here and say that it solved all the problems. I mean, I think I've talked with some of you individually, it's the same thing. We had a speed bump there before. It doesn't have to be a 24 karat gold speed bump, just asking for a little something better than what it is now, which is, I mean, not much, a lot of the times, and you might ask, where is the traffic coming from? Where is it going? Consolidated, or whatever it's called now, consolidated, Conco, dailies. I mean, they're just, I have video. I mean, again, I'm not gonna go through the whole thing again. I know Stephanie always side eyes me whenever I bring up the speed bump.
I would, actually, I have no problems with the speed bump. I
Yeah.
would ask, our DPW has asked, that you please remove the basketball court from the street.
Why?
Because they said it's causing an issue and it shouldn't be there.
I think the bigger issue would be the speeding.
Right. I'm just,
It's a basketball hoop for kids. I mean,
but what they're worried about is they just put in all the speed lines and stuff like that. And now there's a hoop on the street and their concern is.
their concern should be to stop at that stop sign instead of going through it like my camera footage.
I will
You
let
can
them
tell,
know.
yes, please tell them that. But yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and point out, I mean, the basketball hoop's not coming down. So, speed bump, if you can think about it. It's been a while since I got on anybody's nerves, but.
If I may, we
Yeah.
talked about that last night at the police meeting, about
Yes.
the speed bump.
Yeah.
And, but once again, John and Ray was there. And we are going to look into something,
Okay.
you know, with the engineer.
Yeah.
And the other thing is too, I appointed, Officer, Okenak, thank you. He is now handling, traffic throughout the time. And he's been going places, sitting there and writing it down, and we're gonna enact on that. And I just called him today and I asked him, I says, why don't we write up a letter if it's feasible? And he said, absolutely. Write up a letter, send it to Dailies, because I'm sure a lot of people cut through there.
Yeah.
I don't know the name, the plastic place there.
Yeah. Altum or something.
Yeah, they changed hands. Ben and Conco, send them a letter stating that we're getting many complaints from the residents. He'll put it in writing.
Yeah.
And stating that we are going to be doing traffic heavily and there's going to be no leniency on tickets that we're going to put on. He said that's a great idea. He's going to put something in place and hand deliver it and ask them to put it in the lunchroom or by the time clock or whatever, that the Verona police are going to be very aggressive in ticketing. Now, as you know, we can't be there constantly.
Right, yeah,
We could be there for an hour,
Yeah.
they leave and somebody's,
Right.
running a stop sign.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we are going to do something. We discussed that in detail last night.
Okay, and I don't want it to be, I don't want it to go unnoticed. I mean, you guys have been
No, you have
a
that
help.
right.
You guys have definitely been a help. We're better than where we were, a year ago, just a little bit more. So again, I mean, I appreciate, the steps that we've taken thus far, but if we could just do a little bit more, yeah, I would appreciate it.
Have you been noticing the speeding at certain times? Is there certain times of day that they're speeding? Like, is it during like the mornings when they're trying to get to work, or is it during when they're leaving from work?
It's funny because I have a video, you would think that you were watching like an old Charlie Chaplin video, an old Charlie Chaplin film. Within the course of 15 seconds, at each of the 3 stop signs, car coming down this way, doesn't stop, car coming this way, doesn't stop, it was the wildest thing, and I have it on video, I will share it with anybody. Now, of course, me and the kids aren't out playing at 7:30 in the morning, but that's not the point. After work though, between 3 and 4, I mean, yeah, you could sit there and you can probably put in them gold-plated speed bumps with all the citations that you hand out.
I mean, is it like,
Yeah,
are you
there's
noticing late afternoon, morning, like when is this
after
happening?
work and then 11 o'clock, because that
Okay.
seems to be the shift, 3 to 11 they get off. And
Okay,
I'm sitting there and, doing my, whatever, doing work. And I
Yeah.
just,
gotcha.
Yeah.
And it might be the same people doing it too, right?
Oh, yeah, I have I'll say it publicly. I have a license plate because it is the
Okay.
same person.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow. All right.
but,
I also wanted to
Yes.
mention.
Yeah.
If you look on the agenda, when we get to public safety, we're gonna talk a little bit about LTAP, which is a local technical assistance program.
Mhm.
They've been in town in the past and they exist to help small municipalities with
Yeah.
issues like this, pertaining to the roadways.
okay,
And they can look at it, evaluate
okay,
humps,
Yeah.
nothing, whatever.
Yeah.
And some other issues that we have that we might be able to use their help with.
okay,
So we're gonna discuss that in a few minutes.
okay, great. In the meantime, I'll be working on my jump shot.
Well, if it gets me there,
Thanks,
don't cry to me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Good evening, Sandy for Vicky Bell, 619 Third Avenue. I'm here asking for council's integrity and transparency with budgeted item number 401-000 administration, specifically salary and wages number 401-110. It disappoints the taxpayers that at the end of 2024,
borough management was making slightly less than $80,000. Based on what? Councilpersons Carpenter and Provenza, both of you were sitting on the RCAC board when Manager Wolford was brought to Verona. You knew her skill level and her salary and still proposed a hefty initial salary increase over what prior management was making in Verona. Councilperson Redzak. At the time, you were on the finance committee. When I asked you why did you have to be getting salary, your response was, she knows how to write grants and is going to bring so much money into Verona. My question is, today, from her time of employment to present, how many grants have been applied for under her name alone? And what amount of money came to Verona? Number two, Councilperson Carpenter. Last summer, when I saw you at the Verona Giant Eagle at the fruit and vegetable section, I asked you what borough management does for Verona. You said, that's a good question, and you don't know. Councilpersons Floda and Long. At the November election in the borough building parking lot, I asked, what does borough management do? Neither of you could answer that. My question is, if the public wants to know, why doesn't the elected officials want to know as well? Number three, not able to get an answer from my elected officials, I sent an email to all elected officials, including the mayor, requesting job descriptions on the front office staff that is costing the taxpayers in excess of $100,000. I received a very fancy and very fluffy response from Vice President Redjack on behalf of council. It stated in a bottom line, if I wanted job descriptions, I had to complete a right to know. I did not do this because A, the right to know officer for Verona is the borough management. If she does not give me my request, I can appeal it. But this in turn costs the taxpayers because the solicitor would need to get involved. My question is, where is the accountability for the job performance in the front office? In November 2024, a petition was written on change.org with dozens of signatures requesting for the quote, immediate removal of the Verona borough manager, end quote, based on, quote, blatant disregard for the public, end quote. My question is, how does council ignore this, reward with another salary increase, and claim that you listen to the public? If borough management has blatant disregard for us, the Verona citizens, then borough management has blatant disregard for you, Verona's elected officials, who are taxpayers just like us. There's one problem here. You are the employer. Where's your accountability to the taxpayer? Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? No virtual hands? We go to discussion items. To the 2025 committee goals. We wanted to just go over this real quick. See where everybody stands. We're gonna have each committee to come up with a list of their goals. And, we want to update what we have. So if you don't, this is the form that Stephanie had and Trish made, I believe. And we just want you to go over this. Come up with, make sure these are what's going on, make sure these goals are met and where we need to be with them. Correct? Anything else, Trish? Get them back to me or Trish or Stephanie and We'll work through them. Anybody have any questions? Next up, mayor's item.
Yeah, I have a few things at the last minute that were brought up to me that I'd like to go over. The Verner PTO, they would like to ask this board if they could have a car wash in the parking lot sometime in May. For a fundraiser.
Anybody have a problem with that? Suppose it doesn't coincide with something else that's going on.
Well, I'm sure they would work around, the schedule.
And they're gonna be only bothered.
There's one right there outside the,
Gazebo.
we would use it in the past, yeah.
Oh, not the good hoses.
I advise them to at least fill out an application, so my office can know
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah,
the park permit. They can just specify.
Right. The other thing too is, Officer Dessel, he, just got, the okay to go to a training, it's, what's it called, Top Gun, if you want to explain that real quickly.
It's put on by the Pennsylvania Narcotics Association, the Attorney General's office, and it's a week-long course, Sunday through Saturday. The state picks up the tab, room, food, everything, and you learn to be an enhanced narcotic investigator and bring it back to your department.
And my understanding is that this training, you had to literally be picked or chosen.
There's only 30 people attending this class.
Well, congratulations on that. Also, last night, in our police meeting, we brought a lot of discussion. We went over a lot of things that I brought up. And the officers had 3 weeks to think about what they want to do, how they want to do it, and move this department forward. And like I just said, I put Officer Trevor in charge of traffic, and Officer Dessel, he's gonna be doing the Facebook page, and it is up and running. If you would briefly like to talk about that. I mean,
Whoever doesn't know what Facebook is, I don't want to rock them. But we are one of the only departments that does not have one.
right,
And basically I have the comments turned off, so it's just one-way information. We're putting it out, they're not giving it back to us, because I know there was concern. They're gonna post this, that, the other, no, comments are off.
and a lot of departments have that where you cannot write back because they don't want the negativity. If
Right.
you have a complaint, come down to the,
Then if they send an instant message, it comes back, it says, you don't respond to this, we're not 24/7, please call 911 if you want to talk to a Verona people.
and getting back to Officer Trevor, he came up with some ideas that he brought forward in November, and I told him that we'd discuss that first of the year. And one of the things is he wants to start a cop and coffee, where you could make arrangements with the officer to come down and maybe go up to Get-Go or across here at Mechanical Coffee, sit down, talk about whatever issue you have or concerns, rather than calling the police and have them, come up to your house, in the police car in front of the house. So he had a lot of good ideas, and like I said, we're moving forward, and we're getting a lot of good ideas from all the officers.
Dave, if I'm not mistaken, didn't he bring that up? They wanted to do it like here?
It doesn't matter where.
Right.
Just a once a month
Yeah.
type thing or something.
Yes, give or take.
Right, or if they wanted to meet, Giant Eagle or Mechanical Car or somewhere, if they wanted to, or in a gazebo, to sit down and what have you. But that's all I have at this time.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Stephanie, Borough Manager's items.
Few things, we had talked earlier about building and planning inspections, the difference between BIU and CEA. The reason that, we were looking at thinking that switching to CEA is the best option is the process is much more transparent. They set up an in-house database that allows us to watch the flow of information. BIU, we spend many times calling them, trying to get answers, things get postponed or not done, or so it's becoming an issue. The other thing is the checks are actually written out to the borough, and then they will bill us. This would allow us to put an administrative fee on the permits. Teresa and I spend a lot of time making sure all those permits go through and people come and pick them up and all that. So, you know, this could make up a bit for our time and add, you know, we've been looking for ways to add a few more fees that might increase our revenue. And the other question was, the prices are comparable. They're not different. They would be different as we, you know, because we would have an administrative fee, but we're currently not allowed to do because all checks are made out directly to BIU. And CEA would work as the Verona Borough Building Inspector, where BIU is a BIU building inspector who just does building inspections for Verona. Any questions? Financial interest statements are due in May. So I attached a paper one and you can also do them online. I attached the, request for an ARDC, sent us, it's Allegheny River Development Corporation. They are in charge of fundraising and seeking funds for the lots 6, 7, 8, 9, and they partially fund lots 4 and 5. We previously in 2003 had done a resolution with them. They're just asking us to update that. If everybody's okay with that, I'll have Craig write it up and get it ready for February's meeting. The garage door in front of the first bay of DPW was broken. It's fixed. They actually have to push it up and pull it down. So they got a bid of what it would cost to repair it or to replace it. To repair it is $3,666.55. And to get a new one is $3,700.
Really?
Yeah.
Getting
Getting the new one, look at that, yeah.
Well, those garage doors, they've been there since, Three Star built that place, you remember, Tom, in the 80s, I guess it was? Or something like that, so, yeah, before this was a police station, so they've been there a long, long time.
So, we'll be going on to have that approved. Lawn equipment, we had spoken about this during budget season. DPW was looking to replace their lawn mower and to purchase an infield grader and fine finish broom. The lawn mower, that they looked at and chosen is from Penn Hills Rental. It's $11,381. And then the, which is under the requirement for bids. We don't have to do bids. They get a couple other ones. They also need an infield grader to do the ball diamonds, since we are taking over the ball diamonds starting this spring. And the cost of that is like $4,400.
Question on that. So the grader is the item 74057 on this? On the quote?
On the quote, if you look, right there, you have to add the two together.
So I was looking at, we were looking at, it was confusing, it looked like tires, and I was like, whoa.
The lawnmower.
Tires.
You're talking about the lawnmower, not the grader.
Yeah, but I'm saying
It's a lawnmower.
that's a lawnmower.
It's probably
The
like
other
a
one's
C
the
max.
It's a female.
Yeah,
The
because-
grader's on the other page.
The grader's on.
What's the two? Are those
They only
two
do-
different lawnmowers?
There are two different lawnmowers. The one that is circled is the
Is
one
the
they
one-
want.
Ah, that's what I thought.
And then there's the grader, which they need to
Okay.
do the ball diamonds. And that is, there's the piece for the grader itself and then. to add
I got you. So this isn't the, okay, so this is the, okay, so we're only getting the one.
We're only getting one lawnmower.
All right. I was confused about this. That's-
Yeah, they had it they circled it.
Okay,
Yeah, the one they look like.
all right.
Cribs Field, we're currently working on, getting everything ready to redo the ball diamonds. It just happens to be the company that's going to be doing all the park equipment also does the, ball, will also do ball diamonds. So Matt and I will be setting up a meeting with them in the near future so that they can do it all at once.
Who's doing the park equipment?
Sports.
number one, what would you like?
Yeah, they've done the work here before. They're very good.
Yeah, so they also, we were looking at quotes, but they do it, and it would be nice to have the same company do it the whole
Mark
way.
Ford.
Yeah, do the whole way through. And they'll also, there's an erosion at Cribs Field that needs to be looked at with they'll fix also. The stamp grant attached to your packet, I attached the survey results, from the survey we did in October about what things were important to people and what things were not. And then from there, we took what we're currently working on, such as we've hired an HR consultant. We did music fee devices and stuff like that. We then took all the high votes and anything and put that into the 2025 stamp DCED grant that we will be writing in the next probably month and a half. That grant will be for approximately $200,000.
I have a question about the whole stamp thing. My understanding is that the clock doesn't start ticking until we actually make a motion and vote to accept the report.
I can check on that. When I talked to them, I had a long meeting with them a few weeks ago about the thing. They didn't mention.
Well, let's double check into that because, I mean, it's actually advantageous the longer we wait, because then the 5 years starts going from the time that we vote to accept the report. And move into the next phase. That's how I understand how this works, but I appreciate if you double check.
Yeah, I know that we have 5 years to apply for grants. That doesn't mean we have 5 that we can postpone how long we have.
Well, it's, again, my understanding is that 5 years starts from the day that we
I will
vote
check,
to.
because like I said, I just met with George, we'll check with George.
Yeah, okay.
The audit is coming up, the paperwork's prepared, and we'll go from there. Craig sent, and then cleaning service, Craig sent a letter to Coverall, suspending their service. They suspended it basically immediately. We are starting, we've started with our new company and hope to have somebody hired by the end of February. So that is done, the letter is written, and that's where we're at.
That it? Anybody have anything for Stephanie? Thank you. Next up, finance report.
You have December's, income and expenses. Please understand the, financials from December. Because the fact that we haven't had an audit yet, they're unaudited, they could change. The auditor moved some things around. In December, our income was $140,873. The expenses were $218,000. Yearly, we brought in 1.9 million and we spent 2.2 million. That puts us in a negative balance of 295,217. Please understand, 200,000, so we are $295,000 in the hole, but $200,000 of that went to the capital fund. $100,000 went to the sewer fund and $100,000 went to the police pension.
As per our policy.
As per our policy.
Next up. Committee discussions. Parks and Property, Mr. Floda.
I have nothing to report at this time.
Nothing at this time, thank you. Next up will be Community Relations, Mrs. Provenza.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President.
Due to President's Day, which is going to be on Monday, February 17th, that is our day to have the meeting. That meeting has been canceled due to it being a holiday, so we will have our meeting the following month.
That's it?
Yes, sir.
Very good, thank you. Next up, public safety, Dr. Carpenter.
Thank you. Had a meeting on Tuesday, January 21st. And we went over several things. I want to point out that over there on the podium that has the agendas, there's also some copies of the flyers for the CPR class that's coming up in March that we're doing in conjunction with RCAC. They are taking the reservations and I checked in with them today. They have 10 reservations already. So if people are interested in taking that class, I suggest that you register sooner rather than later. All the information is on that flyer. We talked about several other things, grants for police, a press release came out, but from the Pennsylvania Committee for Crime and Delinquency or something like that, PCCD, back on January 15th, talking about all this money that they were awarding for hiring of police and for improving software in police departments. And I tried to find out exactly, what the process for all that was, and I was unable to track all that down. So I'm not sure whether that money is actually still available, whether it just went to the county or how all that works. But anyway, we briefly touched on that at the meeting. We were thinking about inviting the code enforcer to our next meeting in February.
The emergency manager. Is it the code enforcement or emergency manager?
Joe, the code enforcer.
Okay.
That's what I wrote
I'm
down.
sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chief Teehee is still working on the fire vest information and for trying to have more firemen sign up. And we came up with 9 goals and objectives, which are all basically things I've been going over this whole year: grants, full-time police, fire vest, dealing with speeding, and so on and so forth. As it has to do with Mr. Sperling's situation and other situations in town, there is this local technical assistance program, LTAP, that provides assistance in things like that, and we thought maybe it would be a good idea to have them come and assess how we might get those mirrors hung up, for one thing, and also assess the potential of having bumps or humps or not having any, just sort of do an assessment from their perspective. It's free, it's all free, it doesn't cost the borough anything. So that is something that we'll look into further. So that's basically what we discussed at the meeting, and that's a little bit of information about LTAP. The next meeting will be on Tuesday, February 18th. It's on Zoom and in public for whoever's interested. And that's my report.
Thank you.
You skipped me, right, so I'll go.
I didn't get,
I was before Nancy.
oh geez,
That's all right.
sorry about that.
I didn't have time to get mine into the agenda items, but we did have a meeting yesterday. We came up with about 8 goals for finance for this year, and we'll be talking about it more as the year goes on.
Sorry about that, Tim.
That's all right.
Thank you. Next up is strategic planning would be Trish. You hear Trish?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, great. First, I want to talk about the VOP trail update. And is Janet still there?
Janet, yes.
Okay, great, good. Janet, I'm hoping you can relay some of this to Joe. Nancy, do you have the VOP information at my station that Rhoda put together?
See it out now.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So I know I've talked to a few of you, but just to get everyone on the same page, the original VOP, Verona Oakmont Plum Penn Hills Trail feasibility study to connect Verona's riverfront to Boyce Park was done on a route that some of us do not currently prefer, which, as I think everyone knows, is along Allegheny River Boulevard. That's the main point of contention due to some of the traffic speeding and other dangerous conditions on Allegheny River Boulevard. So in response to that, Rep. McAndrew has proposed what we're now dubbing the McAndrew route, which is an alternative that wasn't originally included in the exploration that would go behind the businesses along, first down West Railroad from the riverfront, and then along Avalotas and Bunting, briefly through railroad property before crossing at Plum Street, and then sweeping through Oakmont, and then back to Plum Street. If everyone's tracking, I can forward a diagram. So with consideration of that alternative, that it seems like the railroad, at least now, is amenable to doing because it's minimally crossing their property, I'm proposing that we look at doing a second Verona feasibility study to explore this route, and that way we will be able to fully compare apples to apples. So I was able to obtain a quote that ambitiously says 2025, but obviously we're not doing it this year, but roughly would only take about a year to complete the feasibility study to explore this route and then have all the data we need to determine which connection is best for Verona. But it would cost about $125,000, I think. So Janet, we would be looking to Joe to help us to fund this study. But let me just pause there and just check in with council because this is a workshop meeting, so I do want to allow some time for discussion. Do we think this is the best approach in order to move the VOP trail forward?
So Trish, what you're saying is this, if we were to do this feasibility study and find out that it was feasible, to take it on that different route that would keep it on East Railroad, Center and Allegheny River Boulevard, would that make a difference for people here in terms of getting behind the walk trail? Is that what you're asking?
Thank you. I think so, yes. Are we amenable to gathering the data from this alternative route so that we can make the best decision for Verona in terms of apples to apples?
No.
Hey, I have a question.
Yep.
Somebody else.
No.
This is just for a feasibility study, but the way the VOP trail is routed now is it has gotten a lot of pushback from both state reps and people here in Verona because it goes along the viaduct, dangerous route. If Verona doesn't approve that, wouldn't VOP have to get another feasibility study anyway to pick a new route?
So what we're facing now, Vince, honestly, is if Verona doesn't come to a decision about our preferred connection to Oakmont, they're going to move forward without Verona and it will become the op trail.
I know, that's my question though, but then wouldn't they have to still do another feasibility study? Because they're missing a fourth of the piece. The last feasibility study was done with Verona involved. So if they have to change the route, like we want to change the route, wouldn't they have to get another feasibility study also? Potentially?
I anticipate it's possible, but I anticipate they would shorten the entire route and probably end at a different point. I don't know exactly where that is.
Change it, they would have to do another feasibility study to change it, because that's what I was told
what I'm hearing Trish say is they would just eliminate Verona and it would be the Op Trail instead of the Bob Trail. And then you just wouldn't consider.
So it's
Verona.
Camden Oakmont?
Yeah.
Is that, am I?
I thought I was supposed to connect from Oakmont to Verona to Penn Hills.
The plum.
The club, it is, but if we wrote it down, then I get they.
Because the way they have it now, it's starting in Verona.
I know, but from what I was told, I've been involved in this project from the start. From what I was told is we were an integral piece because eventually Penn Hills would like to reconnect down at Steel City Rowing also. So if you take Verona out of that, they would have to do another study to reroute around that.
Sure sounds like it.
So why would we have to pay for a feasibility study when if they change it, they're gonna have to pay for one anyway? It seems like everybody's just kicking the can to Verona and we're getting the short end of the stick with this whole trail. Honestly, that's
I
my
don't see
opinion.
it that way. I mean, I disagree. I think Rep. McAndrew has proposed a route that most of us are more amenable to than the viaduct route, and Verona only stands to lose here. Yeah. So they may do their own study, but it will be with an op at that point. And so this is on us to straighten out our preferred route. I don't know what they will do. I can't speak for all of that.
I mean, I would think that they should have included us in that in the beginning instead of just proposing a route that we didn't agree with.
Yeah, that's my issue is Oakmont, Plum, and Penn Hills have all had conditions and stipulations that people have had to plan around. And that we had that also, but everybody else's conditions were met except for us. And it's just very coincidental that we're also the smallest town. So it kind of feels like we're getting pushed around a little.
I sat in meeting with PennDOT. The way the plan goes now, it doesn't. I don't think this has, the question I would have is PennDOT basically said no. So my question to the BOV committee then would be, if PennDOT's saying no, then do they not have to look? And the question also is gonna start to become, we've spent, this is like $125,000, but there are pieces of property that have not been bought in Penn Hills and in Plum that are needed for this trail. There are things at Oakmont that have not been agreed to yet. So I feel like, to say that can do this without us and just say they're gonna make it up, I just wonder what happens the first roadblock they hit in the next place.
Could be.
It seems very much like threats. Like either go with our plan or you're not part of our group.
Right. And to me, it seems like it's either we go with their plan or we are out money, or we have to ask.
Actually, it's opposite. If we go with their plan, we're on the hook for financing the BOV trail in Verona, which we just found out a year ago that, we agreed to this feasibility study, we agreed to this plan. We have to come up with funding for it, which could be $5 million.
The big question, we just finished with the help of Representative McAndrew, writing a grant to basically redo Arch Street. So I don't know, that grant is currently hopefully is being looked at and will be going through in the next couple of weeks. So that's a huge multimodal. That'll be our second multimodal. So, and there's no feasibility study built into that. And we did that, because the businesses and the people who live on Arch Street are looking for some relief and, to help with the bike trail.
Yeah, that would also be another question that I have is, I've spoken with our engineer who has spoken with PennDOT, and the current feasibility study and route that they have will not be approved by the state. The road is not wide enough on Allegheny River Boulevard to put a bike lane, but we can't. So,
And if the railroad's not gonna let us,
yeah, that would be my question, like, we can't change the state's mind, we can't make roads wider when there's businesses right up against the curb.
Well, their biggest concern was the way it would go through, it would throw off bus stops. And it would make traffic, the buses swinging into traffic. That was PennDOT's biggest complaint, was the argument, like the bus stops, the way the road would have to go. I sat in a 2-hour meeting where they discussed at length the issues they had with it. And the thing is, Trans Systems, who is the engineer for this project, sat in that same exact meeting that I did and heard the same exact thing. So this shouldn't be news to them that the state was pushing back. We've tried, I feel, Trish is right, we found a feasible way to do it, trying to help, wanting to continue this project. But $125,000 to do another feasibility study, or basically you're done. Is that gonna happen? So at the end, is it gonna be Is it gonna be Oakmont and Penn Hills?
we're out to 100,000.
Oakmont has enough.
Penn Hills is already, there's the Plum. I've sat through quite a few of these meetings. I know there's a lot of property in Plum that hasn't been purchased yet. I'm just asking, how this is all gonna work.
Trish, if you set aside all of my other concerns about this project and just focus on the feasibility study that you're proposing, I would think my biggest concern with just the feasibility study would be if we get it done and we find funding, or Joe McAndrew finds funding, or Stephanie finds funding to get this feasibility study done, and they've already expressed interest in, if things get too hard, they're just gonna cut the V off of VOP. And so what happens if we get this feasibility study done, we pay $150,000, we find the funding for it, and we get it done, and we start getting ready to build it, and Oakmont's not in it anymore. So what are we connected to? Like, because maybe Oakmont didn't play nice with the rest of the VOP, so they were like, oh, we'll just cut the O out too. But Verona already spent $150,000 for a feasibility study that connects to nothing now. That's my concern, is wasted money and wasted studies. Somebody already had a feasibility study done for VOP, and it obviously wasn't done right if PennDOT isn't agreeing with it and it goes on a state road. And I think the majority of council doesn't agree with the current route. If we were to put it on an addendum for a vote, I would be more than likely to guess that a lot of the town doesn't agree with the current route.
Okay,
we're gonna cut
I'm gonna interject because I know that we're spending a bit of time on this, but just so everyone is aware, there are monthly meetings that PennDOT participates in, PRT participates in. Myself and Verona, members of Oakmont, Plum, and Penn Hills all participate in. Yes, there will be many obstacles and hurdles in the future. I'm not proposing Verona pays this money. I'm proposing that we agree to move forward in search of grants to explore this option. It's always possible we will be out money for feasibility studies, but I think it's much better than trying to pursue something and having it backfire, or things we didn't anticipate not working out. So anyway, the question for tonight, just to kind of zero us all back in on the same question, is do we want to start to pursue grants actively in order to complete the second feasibility study? Also, no one is threatening to remove Verona at this time. That is just something that, was discussed offline as a possibility down the road. But there are no active threats. Everyone very much is excited for Verona and wants Verona to be included, as I hope all of you still want to be included. But regarding the feasibility study and seeking grants, where are we on that as a council?
I don't have a problem with doing feasibility study as long as it doesn't cost the borough of Verona a penny.
I still think it's on wrong.
I
If the state's against it, it's on them.
I'm just saying.
No, I mean, it's not on us to go looking for a grant to do a feasibility study for something that they have to, the state doesn't want it. So their feasibility study's out the window. Now they gotta get another one to find another route. Not us. It's not
Tim,
our-
that,
it's
I'm
not our
sorry,
find a
Tim,
route.
that is entirely incorrect. You are speaking completely incorrectly. I can catch you up offline. That is not correct.
Well, they put out something, the state doesn't want it, they can't do it unless the state wants to do it. I mean, end of the day.
I don't think it's about wanting, I think it's about the current setbacks and the current requirements for lanes that
Yeah.
it's just not legal to do. It's not that they don't want it, they just are not, legally, they're not allowed to do it.
There's probably 100 other things that could be looking at.
I'm with Ray, if it's free, nothing's free.
Nothing's free.
Nothing's free.
So,
If we go for this, we don't get other ones, but I mean.
I can see that.
Well, it counts.
I can look and see, the big thing is matching, so we can,
Why would not be in favor of matching?
yeah, so I'd have to look with Matt, see if we can find something that's gonna have a matching involved with it.
There we go, then we got more money putting that out too, looking for grants.
well, we already had, the feasibility study was already done. We only want to change 25% of what's going through Verona. So we wouldn't have to do a whole. Because from Arch Street all the way to the park here would remain the same. So it wouldn't be a whole, it wouldn't like we have to do a whole walk trail from Verona to Plum. It would just be a 10th. So.
Correct.
You'd be figuring out how it goes around the building,
Yeah.
down,
From the park to,
yeah, to what bridge would have to be fixed.
I mean, is that something that even our engineer might be able to do without having to do a complete full study? It would just be drawing up a new alternate route and plans. And it would only be from the park to the creek.
Want to have grant money to pay the engineer to do that.
Yeah. Yes, but I'm just saying it might be cheaper than outsourcing if we did it in-house.
Yeah, I personally don't know enough of the details about all of that. I've been to a few meetings and have learned a little bit each time I go. I do wanna, though, just as a slight tangent, bring everyone's attention to this thing that was passed out. That was prepared with the help of the works. Yeah, to outline what the advantages of having this trail here, however we end up getting it. And looking over this, it just looks like there's a lot of different advantages to having the trail going through Verona. I guess where I would lean to is, maybe talk to the BOV committee. Talk to, what's his name, Brian, from Trans Systems.
He's gone.
Okay, so whoever is in charge now. And see if we can just get more information, because this, it seems to me totally opposite that PennDOT, I'm hearing that PennDOT is saying no-go completely.
They're not saying no-go, they're saying that they don't know how they would control that traffic right there. Every fear that comes in is right there at get-go.
Yeah.
Where there's that extra lane.
Right.
That's where the fear comes.
Yeah, and I understand that. I get that totally. So, I don't know, I know that, they have their steering committee meetings like once a month or something. And there's not gonna be like a big public meeting, I don't think, for a while. But whenever it is, if we don't have a chance to talk to people individually, make sure that we go to that public meeting, which is gonna be somewhere here in Verona. Yeah, otherwise, I don't really know how personally how to address the questions that have been brought up.
Hey, Trish, question for you. As I'm looking at this feasibility study, it's a year-long study. My question is, when the gentleman who wrote it, and I read the email, he's looking at it taking us 12 months to complete. What I don't understand is, are they talking about that they would have to do, we're literally still talking about not even the whole piece of property. Like, we're talking about the part by the railroad and Bunting and stuff. That would take a year and $125,000? Or would all of the Verona section have to be redone again?
So I will clarify, I don't believe that Verona section would have to be redone, but he did say this study could encompass every possible option that would be on railroad property. So there were a few other offshoots you may recall, like that go under the viaduct somehow, and like a slightly different version from the one that Joe's proposing. So it could encompass all of those options. It would not include other options that have been proposed, such as Selden, though, and I don't know that we as a council want to pursue that at all, but it would not include that.
I know some people met with the railroad. What was the railroad's thoughts on this?
From what I got from the railroad was they would be amicable to allow it down a private road. As long as we got permission from Bunting and Rob Roy and RC. Or whatever they are.
RCC,
And we wouldn't have to cross railroad property until there's a little triangular piece of property down by where the railroad bridge is, crosses Plum Creek. We would only need to get a throughway granted for the railroad on that piece of property that is just woods. And we would have to cross the creek down there instead of having to cross and put a light in across Plum Street and all that. We also asked if they would consider going along the railroad tracks and under the viaduct where the Lager Cheese is. They said absolutely not. They use that for leaving cars and picking up cars, and they don't want people on that part of their property because it's underneath the bridge and they're scared of vagrants and more people living down there than already are. So they figure if we put a bike trail through there, it would just bring more attention to it. So they said absolutely not, that they are amicable to along the road nearby. So we just would have to they said that they would recommend that we get permission from the 3 businesses that have the property down there, and it's not even any property that they use, it's just a parking lot, it's some brush. And if we got permission from them, then we'd have to go back to this railroad and show them we got permission, and then the railroad would start steps in granting us a throughway. So Joe Gander said he was gonna reach out, talk to businesses, and I think he did, so he could get back from one of the 3.
It's also named.
Yes.
what's that?
He's waiting to hear back from Bob.
What was the one that we didn't hear back from?
I think Rob Roy, maybe? Because Bunting is pretty, you can find them. I think Rob Roy might be, I can't remember, he told me 2 months ago.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, what's everybody's thoughts on this? See if McAndrew can do something, or, I mean, we.
Sounds like that's what the consensus is, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I really think Bob also needs to talk to Representative McAndrew. I mean, a lot of this trail is in his district, and I think he'd be more comfortable if they sat and talked to him. Instead of, us going around.
What if we could set something up
Actually
with the
represent-
VOP people and represent?
Represents,
Part of the park, so it might not be where the trail is, but certainly those are his constituents over there.
I also think before we talk about paying for a feasibility study, we should get the best price for the feasibility study, whether we can outsource it, or if our engineer could do it, because it's just a small piece of what was originally done. He might be able to do it a lot more efficiently than $150,000 in taking a year. Especially since he's already informed and knows about this since the beginning of the project, and he already is informed of the infrastructure of Verona. So, I think it might create time and resources that. But I think the first step is talking to Joe and seeing if we heard back from Bob.
So, okay, so I think we've gotten this to be a little bit more complicated than it needs to be. Can we agree that we need to hear back from Joe on whether or not these businesses are even amenable to it? And Stephanie, I know you talked to Joe, but since Janet is here, I was just going to ask if Janet could work with him on that piece.
Janet,
In which case, Stephanie, if you could relay this.
Yeah, I'll relay it, Jeff, not a problem.
Okay, thank you. And then we'll go from there in terms of a feasibility study.
Sounds good.
all right,
All right. I'm just going to touch on the other items briefly in the interest of time. The Allegheny River Boulevard Preservation Association has completed their draft management plan. They will be sending a finalized draft within the next month or so, and information on next steps will be forthcoming. I did want to give an update on our walk audit that we completed in September. We centered on a couple of action items coming out of that. PennDOT, being PennDOT, is requesting more formalized communication regarding our desire for next steps. So I was just going to ask Stephanie to just kind of recap what those are and just make sure we're on the same page about those.
We will be writing them a letter, requesting them looking at putting in a midway crosswalk that right by, Tiny King Paws, between Tiny King Paws and another ring off. They will come out and look at that to see if that's feasible. The timing on the center light. So those will be the two things that we wrote them an email, which is what they said they needed at first. Now they need a formalized letter. So that will be going out in the next week or so. The question becomes, some of the stuff that we will be doing is also stuff that's in the Allegheny River Boulevard Preservation Plan. So we will need to make sure we meet up with them and get that.
Yeah, okay, great. Sounds good. Separate but related to that, we are working with Oakmont and the Southwestern Planning Commission to do a road safety audit that will encompass Verona from Rivertown Plaza all the way to Holton. I also wanted to mention that I was invited to speak at a national conference called the Main Street Now Conference on Verona and all of our active transportation efforts as a catalyst for our business revitalization. So I'm very excited to share that. I'm hopefully going to be able to attend. That's in Philadelphia in April. Lastly, we had street sweeping. In the interest of time, I'm just going to suggest we table that for February workshop. Does anyone have any other questions or comments for me?
no, it doesn't seem to be.
All right, thank you so much. I'll be back soon.
Thanks, Trish. Next up, personnel will be Mr. Jamelis.
Thanks, Mr. President. The last week we had our personnel committee. We had, in attendance, we had our new HR consultant. And So we kind of, we wanted to, go over our goals for 2025 for personnel. And, a lot of it has to do with, the HR policy for the borough. Developing our handbook, and talking about, professional development, training, retention of, police officers, the other, another thing that came up was, enhancement and staying competitive with, as time goes on, of course, we have to compete with other, boroughs and government agencies. So, we have to kind of stay with the pack as far as, salaries in the future and staying on par with benefits. So we have to always visit with, that as well. So we're going to be looking at in those in that aspect and try to see what we can do in the future to enhance that. And of course, we're going to be working with the finance committee on that. We talked about recruitment. And of course, the first thing we did was we gave Tracy her marching orders on developing the handbook. So she's working on that right now, which is we're going to have another meeting here coming up on the 19th. It's the 19th of February at 6 p.m. So we're going to invite her back. We're going to keep working on it. We're also, another thing that we discussed was we're going to start doing exit interviews. We're going to develop an exit interview policy as well. So we've never done that before. And I think that it should be something we should have been doing. And I think that Vince, I don't know if you want to elaborate a little bit more on that too. If it, I think that's a good idea, but
Yeah, I mean,
we've talked about it.
Can't correct mistakes you have with employees if you don't know you're making. The only way to know that is to conduct exit interviews, yearly evaluations.
Right.
You have people bring up how do you evaluate your employees? We're working on it.
Right.
We're getting employee, we haven't had employee reviews in this town in 150 years.
Right.
Nobody had, if you can find an employee that had a yearly review in Verona in the last 150 years, tell them to give me a call. I'd like their input so we can provide it. But we're gonna start, because it's needed.
Yeah, and the thing is, if we can't get the exit interviews, we can't get the information from someone that leaves the borough, we can't get it.
Yes.
And as to what we can do to improve, or, if they left on some sort of bad term, or, what.
So you can't correct the problem if you
Yeah.
don't know it exists.
So we need to know, that's information that we need to know. That's very important. What else? Well, other things that, what we can do to improve the way we recruit. We also wanted to talk about, also, there's one more thing as far as when our policy on how we particularly hire our police officers. So we're gonna tweak some things. We want to try to bring in, whenever we're interviewing police officers, we want to make sure that they have that they're everything's updated as far as their training and that they're current on their testing and everything, so we're tweaking a few things on that, so. The only other thing I have right now, is that, I just also, the last time that I had some acknowledgements last time with the fire. And, I didn't mention one person's name, that I wanted to thank, and that was, Lisa Lagriteria on North Avenue. And I should have said thank you to her as well, and I didn't, and I mistakenly left her out, and I just wanted to especially thank her for her help on that day. For helping our tenants and calling the fire department and doing everything that she did. And again, I'm eternally grateful to everyone in this town, the police department, the fire department, everyone, for what they did on that day and then afterward, and how everyone stepped up to help the tenants. Just completely unbelievable, just the generosity and kindness this town demonstrated. Just, I'm awestruck by it. And I thank everyone. Everyone's terrific. I'm extremely proud to be a Verona. Just wanted everybody to know that. And I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. That's all I have.
Thank you, John.
So, President just wanted me to announce that immediately following this council meeting, we're going to hold an executive session on legal and personnel issues.
We don't have to.
And we will not be coming back.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the minute. I need a motion to accept the minutes for September 20th. Hold on.
Before we go into that, I forgot one very important thing that I wanted to know. Saturday, the Verona Police was called to down at the park down there by the riverbank. And apparently kids were walking on the ice down there and they stacked bricks straight up, probably about 20 yards from the bank. They had, and I was down there when that was Saturday, right, Officer Dessel? And I was down there and
they all run into each other.
yeah, I know. And I went down Sunday to look at that, and there was two big piles of snow, not big piles of snow. It looked like they were trying to make something. They dragged debris onto the ice. In my opinion, they were probably planning on making a fire on the ice. And I urge parents, man, please, when the river's frozen, do not tell your kids and teach them, do not go on the ice. There was an incident up in the Trona Heights, same thing, the kids walking on the ice, thank God nobody fell in. The same way down at Holland Park Bridge, it was on the news that kids were walking on the ice down there in this incident in Verona too. And I believe it's still down there and the ice is thin. But if you would see what they did down there, they ought to thank God that they're alive and they didn't fall in. That's how bad it was. I wanted to bring that up and I forgot all about it.
Very good, thank you. I'll take a motion to accept the minutes for September 24th, 2024.
I'll make that motion.
So moved by Dr. Carpenter.
Second.
Second by Ms. Reddeck. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Passed. Next, I need a motion to purchase a new garage door from Overhead Door. There's two bids here. There's one for just fixing it for $3666.55. There's one for a new door for $3732.02.09.
I'll make a motion for the new door.
Motion by Mr. Long, second by Mr. Floda. Any questions? I have one. It says here in the summary, labor and materials to place motor and motor operator on existing door. It just has written up here, new door.
New door would be everything.
I understand that, but it doesn't have it written down here in the
Well,
summary.
there's two separate bids. You don't have both of them. They were like weird. It was like one showed if they fixed it. One showed, like we had both prices and then it flipped. And
I just
showed
want to make sure that that's everything.
Yeah, it's everything.
Okay. Any other questions?
And I could get that for you.
All in favor? Opposed? Passed. The next, we have a motion to purchase, I need a motion to purchase the new lawnmower from Penn Hills Rental at a cost of $11,381.
Make that motion.
Motion by Dr. Carpenter.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Jim Ellis. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passed. The next, I need a motion to purchase the infield grader and fine finish broom from Baker Vehicle Services for $4,648.
Make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Flotis, second by Mr. Long. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Thank you. The next, we have announcements and information will be Mr. Provenza.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good evening, everyone. Newsletter, the ads and the articles are due this Saturday, February 1st. This is our spring issue. It'll cover March, April, and May. And also, Donald Wolf can be reached for the articles at 412-828-3607 or at veronanewsroom@gmail.com. And for ads, I can be reached at 412-828-7726. Chamber of Commerce, the next chamber meeting is going to be held on Tuesday, February the 18th, 7 p.m. here in the Borough Building. And they are always looking for new members and welcome them. So if you know of anyone that's interested, do have them come to the meeting. Historical Society, there will be a meeting on Thursday, February the 20th, here in the Borough Building, and it will be a film entitled The North Side Story, and it's narrated by Rick Stevack, and it will be at 7 p.m. And all are always welcome. Along the deadline to register for the Spring Educational Conference at Seven Springs is coming up, and it will be on Wednesday, March the 12th. So if you're interested, you will have to get your reservations in.
So we have to get our reservations into Stephanie by tomorrow.
Yeah, I was told.
No, but if we wanna have a place to stay, we need to do it sooner rather than later.
Okay, well,
It's no big deal. You can add on, but if you have requests and stuff like that, they need to get in early. And quite a few of our friends will have requests.
If there are any questions or comments, I'll be glad to take them. And if not, this concludes my reports, and I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Provenza.
You're welcome.
At this time, we have comments from the public. Please approach the podium or raise your virtual hand, state your name and address, sign the paper, and limit your comment to 3 minutes, please.
Stavrakis, Union Street. I've got to say, I am disturbed. I am disturbed and I'm disappointed in the way things played out tonight. I am disappointed in this all. I'm truly. Let me tell you what it's like to become a US citizen. You take a quiz, you feel the pride. You love this country. You relinquish all other known countries, family, to become a United States citizen. They take your green card, they cut it up and they give it back to you. They give you grace. They give every nationality grace. They give the people grace. They hear them. They listen to them. They work for the people. And then I live in a town. I'm so disappointed in the council. Because you're not listening to the people, you're not hearing their words. They're angry. They're upset. They're disappointed, they're frustrated, they're hurt. I just don't understand how so many people can sit on a bench and not understand that they're there for the people. We spent so long talking about other things that didn't relate to the care and the well-being of our people in our village. They were so angry. And they were angry with due form because they didn't feel that they'd been heard. When I became a US citizen, I was so, and I still am. I love this country and I love this town. This is my home. This is my village. These are my people too. And we need to care for each other. I don't care about anything else. Because people have got to come first. Otherwise, you don't have a job. You have no positions whatsoever. If the people are not there and satisfied and loved and cared for, give them grace. Abraham Lincoln said in his address to Gettysburg that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Don't let it perish from the earth. Take care of our people. Listen to them. Listen to them. I don't want to come to another meeting and see the anger and the frustration and the hurt. Because when I took US citizenship, you would think there would have been challenges, and you know what, it wasn't. It was the most amazing day. Because people cared. Please care. Find it in your hearts to discuss this at an executive meeting. Take care of your people. And everything else will follow.
Thank you. Anybody else?
One thing. Happy birthday to Tom. Officer Tom. Everybody should wish him a happy birthday. Happy birthday.
This time I'll take a motion to adjourn to exec session. We're going to come back. Mr. Long, Mrs. Prevent, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.